Hey guys, it's Dan here. Before the video starts, I want you guys to know that this Friday, so tomorrow, at 6 PM Central Standard Time, I am going to be a guest on Portal 64's RWBY podcast, The Vitalcast, over on his channel. Links in the description down below. It's going to be 6 PM Central Standard Time, and we're going to be giving our final predictions and discussions for RWBY Volume 7, since it is going to be coming next week. And we're also probably going to be talking about other RWBY stuff, maybe some stuff related to Persona 5, or just anything else that comes to our minds at the time. And you're more than welcome to join us in the chat, and maybe even throw some questions our way. So that's tomorrow, 6 PM Central Standard Time, over on Portal 64's channel. Again, link in the description down below, and I hope to see you guys there. We're going to have a good time with it. And now back to your regularly scheduled Dan. Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dan, the voice behind ThatKaitoDan, and in the world of RWBY, the phrase, "there's strength in numbers," is incredibly fitting when it comes to dealing with Remnant's many criminals, schemers, and of course, the Grim. True, there are those that have done great going solo in combating the evils of the world, but they have to be at the top of their game, constantly, and even then they aren't always going to come out unscathed. It does help to have some backup on hand that you can trust, so it makes perfect sense why there's such a heavy focus on forming a group of capable teammates that can work hand in hand with each other and always have their partners back. We've seen teams of all shapes and sizes come and go over these last 6 volumes, and each of them have left some kind of mark showcasing their skills as a group unit. But say if I was a headmaster of one of the academies, or a high-ranked official, and I needed to create the very best 4-person team out of every possible candidate to take on whatever mission is asked of them. Who would I consider then to be the best of the best to handle any test? That's a question I hope to create a solid answer to. Thus today, I will be brainstorming my personal ultimate RWBY team. But of course, such a debate needs some rules and guidelines, so I'm not going too wild with my selections. Firstly, a character's fighting skill and abilities will only be taken from canon events up to Volume 6. No weapons, powers, or accomplishments seen in side material like BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, the manga, the books, and so on. None of that will be looked at. Just the base canon material, so everyone is fairly graded by the same scale. Speaking of making things fair, no special powers will be considered. I'm only looking at everyone's natural abilities like semblances and their general weapon skill, so no silver eyes, maiden powers, or anything similar will be looked at. Currently dead characters are up for contention, but these lot will be based on their last known info before their passing. Personalities and allegiances will also play into factor as well. A team synergy at all times, after all, is just as important as having a team that can fight well together. So it's wise that everyone will be able to get along without any real risk of infighting or possible backstabbing. And before we begin, just a reminder that this is my personal ultimate RWBY team, not yours. Also, there will of course be some spoilers discussed, so please watch with caution. With all that said and done, let's finally build my ultimate RWBY team! Now before I actually start looking at the characters that I want for my squad, it's best that I have the right foundations. I mean, what good is there in packing the team of just bulky heavy hitters if the mission may require people better suited to a rescue mission or a scouting mission? It's better then that I can make sure the team has the right components to accommodate most common mission targets. So I borrowed the classic JRPG party approach to find the best balance. You've got the team's major source of attack, another mastering in defense, a teammate who can provide the best support, and finally, the wild card, which is basically someone who is flexible enough to work for all the previous roles while also adding to the team in their own way. First up to bat, it's the attacker. And obviously almost anyone can be considered for the position since they all excel at fighting to some degree. But when we're discussing the best option to be the team's key offensive unit, there are a few standouts. Penny, for example, is undoubtedly one of RWBY's most powerful fighters, thanks to her robotic body providing great speed and strength, along with her master level skill with her blades and her powerful laser. Her social flaws, though, might hold her back from working perfectly, with those not willing to give her quirks some leeway, and she may be unable to reveal her secret to her teammates if Ironwood had any say in it, which would definitely cause some issue for the group's unity. Crow, meanwhile, is perhaps the best current pro huntsman that we've seen in the series, with his exceptional agility and power. But his iconic bad luck semblance does make him a hazard to the team, even if he has some small grip of control over its effects. Maria is also another pro huntsman that could be considered, but if we're going by the current day events, she is a bit too old to be able to be a viable option. Then there's the twin queens of Titan-like power and fortitude, that being the pair of Nora Valkyrie and Yang Xiaolong. Either of these two would be very fine picks for the attacker role, as the pair of them have broken bones and buildings with just their regular levels of godlike strength. And that's not even going into what they can do once their respective semblances give their destructive might some more juice. But sometimes power isn't enough, and we've seen in the past with Yang especially that straight up aggression won't win all your battles. What I'm personally looking for as my dream team's primary offensive unit is someone who can best you in various ways with equal amounts of power and precision. Thus, I only see Pyrrha Nikos as the best option. Pyrrha's offense game is as well respected as her tournament achievements, and for good reason too. Sure, while Yang or Nora would likely beat her in a test of pure strength, few fighters could equal Miss Nikos in the wide variety of ways that she can take you out. Short range combat, you got her Zyphos sword and shield. Long range, she can opt for her javelin or her rifle mode, which could also provide long distance scouting, and even her main source of defending, her shield, can be used as a weapon with some well aimed discus throws. Of course, this also works alongside her natural athletic ability, her battlefield awareness, and her polarity semblance, which can aid the aiming of her shield throws, act as range cover, or give a little extra push to her allies' moves. And on her own, she's taken on a 4-man team and won, was able to give Penny a run for her money, and she managed to push a fully maiden-powered Cinder to her limits. Her time as part of Team Juniper also showed how effective she can be as the team's motivator, in battle or in personal struggles outside of it. And when the time comes for her to work off her allies, she's proven to be a vital piece of the puzzle, leading to many effective tag team moves, making her, in my opinion, the very best pick to be the Dream Team's frontline fighter. Switching gears now to the defensive role, what I'm looking for here is someone who can be the wall to safeguard their allies, a specific area, or any injured citizens that the team needs to protect. This doesn't necessarily mean that they can't be great at other roles too. After all, sometimes the best defense is a good offense. But like Reinhardt from Overwatch, their primary goal is to take a licking so others can keep on ticking. Jean at first might not seem like the best option for a protective unit, as his shield only protects himself, but his fighting style does work for his focus on being the tactical mind of a team, which would be a great sub-role for a defender to have, someone who could last long enough in a fight to be able to scope the war zone and make the right calls to change the course of the fight. Plus, his newly discovered aura amplification semblance and deep aura pool means that he could provide a boost to anyone else's aura should they need the extra kick. However, this power does render him ineffective, as he does have to focus on the aura transfer and he can't fight back, turning him into a bit of a sitting duck, when he's supposed to be the one not dropping his defenses if he's got this role. Yatsuhashi, on the other hand, is a great example of an iron god that would strike back just as effectively as he can defend. But beyond his titanic muscle and frame, his tussle with Mercury does show the glaring weakness he has when he's going up against much faster opponents. Another mountain of a man, Hazel, was also considered for this option, since he can tank damage insanely well, and that's even before he counts on his dust crystals and pain immunity semblance to make him a near unstoppable juggernaut. But he too suffered with faster paced foes, and while his morality is more cleaner than some of his associates, his somewhat pacifist nature seems to demand a strong reason for him to feel inclined to take action in the first place, and it's only when he has a personal stake in a conflict, mainly regarding Ozpin, does he unleash his dust-powered form. There's other characters who could also do a good job at keeping enemies away, and some who could avoid or counter any damage easily enough. But in the end, I'm left once again with two contenders that I already mentioned in the last category, Yang and Nora. We've seen both ladies get knocked down and then get back up again a lot, and their attack capabilities makes them more than just a human wall. So the question then is, who's the better of the two here? Both work well with others, have plenty of battle experience, can take on a crowd just as easily as they can a single fighter, are not just strong but quick to boot, and both benefit from killer ranged fire as well. This was a tough call to make, with the pair equaling each other out across every key aspect of a perfect defender. So it ended up coming down to semblances to make the final decision. And while Nora's ability to absorb electricity from natural or unnatural sources makes her a very viable option, electricity isn't as common in battle as damage itself. So even though Yang's emotions in the past has been a bit of a detriment to her semblance's effectiveness, her growth in that department, her prowess in being able to brush off blows that many others wouldn't be able to handle, and the fact that she can turn it back around to benefit her cause just edges her a little bit above her fellow Beacon student as my pick for my team's stalwart defensive unit. Now for the support role, and thankfully I had a much easier time with this slot as there is really only one dominant option, though there were still some honourable mentions worth noting. Jean, as I previously mentioned, could be a very handy ally to have with his aura amplification if you ever needed a jolt to your aura, and I could totally see the benefits in Emerald's hallucination semblance. Ren's semblance also raised his chances as a worthy pick, since few people can do a better job at countering the Grimm's negative emotion tracking. And then you got the clone makers, Blake and Sun, as their copies could really turn the tide if there's a situation demanding more numbers, like when an ally is getting ganged up on, or if a heavy object needs lifting. But come on, there's only one obvious answer, and there's simply no overlooking that incredible support that would be available if a team had Weiss Schnee to count on. A remarkable fighter in her own right, with her graceful dexterity and masterful rapier striking, what helps her claim this role with ease is her glyph semblance, which I feel confident in saying is the most versatile semblance in the series, thanks to its wide array of variants that benefit her teammates as well as the Ice Queen herself. Ranged attacks, both regular and elemental, platforms for added mobility in the air, propulsion glyphs to launch people or objects, time dilation to speed up someone's actions, even just using the glyphs as a shield is possible. And as if all that wasn't enough, there's the trump card, Summoning Fallen Grimm, meaning Weiss could add their abilities to the already long list of moves that she can count on, and she can even pull off this special move without her weapon, meaning that she's not powerless when unarmed. But hark, I hear some of you cry. Since the glyph semblance is hereditary and isn't limited to just Weiss, why not pick Winter instead? Surely her military training and sharper intellect would give her a leg up over her younger sister, right? Well, that is a fair point. If Weiss is able to utilize these incredible glyph tricks at her age, then it wouldn't be a leap in logic to say that Winter should be able to do all that and then some herself. After all, she has a better understanding of how semblances work, has finished her Huntress education, and is a high-ranked specialist of the Atlesian army. Yet I look at both their mentalities on and off the field, and it's here where I believe Weiss wins out over her big sis. Both Schnee ladies are very proud women, oftentimes to a fault, and their upbringing hasn't always made for a relatable friendly face to deal with. But between the two of them, Winter's stubborn strictness to rules and her firm nature around others, I feel would become the bigger roadblock in forming a strong team connection. Not everyone can handle working alongside a regimented individual like Winter, who has difficulties dropping her soldier persona to show her softer side, whereas Weiss has grown out of the flaws of her stern, dignified nature thanks to her time around others at Beacon, which has allowed her to connect and even comfort those she considers friends and allies. Winter may be the better team fighter, but Weiss for me would be the better teammate, and her willingness to let down her guard to stand with others on equal footing, flaws and all, makes her the finest option when considering the team's synergy amongst its necessities. There's no sense in being the support member of a group if you cannot connect with your partners. And now the curious case of my 4th spot, the wild card. This role best serves to back up the other 3 while being a useful unit in their own right, especially if they can cover the ground that the others are lacking in. So far we have a prime athlete with a sharp mind and sharper combat skills, a powerhouse tank who's able to take the blows and dish them out too, and the chilled, graceful engine room of the team providing support for several situations. That alone is one hell of a lineup. So who would be best qualified to back up this already jam-packed squad and make it somehow even better? Well, at first, I was gonna consider Neo, which I know could be seen as a controversial pick given her criminal background, but you can't deny her strengths. Combat-wise, she's in a class all her own, even amongst the other 3 selections. Her athleticism is crazy, rivaling that of Pyrrha's. She's actually defeated Yang by showing off her talent at manipulating her opponent's weak spots, and while her bag of illusionary tricks isn't as deep as Weiss's glyph's potential, the ways that Neo could fake you out is scary to imagine. And even though she has been a bad guy for most of her time on screen, we can't be too sure if she would ever rule out working for a good cause, simply because we don't know her motivations for being a criminal in the first place. Perhaps if given the right incentive, and if she promises to be on her best behavior, maybe Neo could be a good guy, at least for a while, even if it's more to profit herself rather than the world. Then again, that uncertainty wouldn't make her the most trustworthy of teammates. Plus, I get the feeling that she would only join the team if Torchwick was involved. And there's also Neo's lack of communication skills. So, in the end, as good as Neo could be, she's just too potentially complicated to make the cut. I was also looking at adding in RWBY's resident copycat queen, Velvet Scarlatina. Her weapon copies and her fighting skill mimicry semblance could add so much more attacking coverage to the team, to the point that it could prove hard for any enemy to predict how she'll next attack, with the other 3 being solid enough support to give the rabbit girl enough time to reload her pictures and create new weapon copies, somewhat nullifying one of her biggest negatives. It would have also been great to add in a Faunus rep, since the benefit of night vision and heightened hearing would be a useful ace to have for situations where humans would come up short, and she could have mediated any conversations with fellow Faunus that may have been involved in the mission, if there was any tension among the races. Sadly though, Velvet rarely uses her weapon, as it means losing pictures that she may consider too important to her to be worth getting deleted once the weapon's usage wears out. And though her martial arts skills are an excellent alternative, it's not as effective as her weapon. Even then, her copies don't last very long, and once she's out of them, suddenly the fight changes its focus from stopping the enemy to safeguarding Velvet and getting her back into the game, which could harm the chances of a successful mission. As such, despite being a personal favourite of mine and having one of the best flexible movesets in the series, this crutch does hurt the chances of me picking Velvet for my squad. And on the note of Velvet, I was also super close to including her coffee teammate, Fox, thanks to that rare skill of his being able to sense a person's aura level, his telepathy semblance leading to greater team communication, and his ability to scan his surroundings via the artificial sight provided by his disability support Ada, as discussed and explored in After the Fall. All of that would have been extremely handy for stealth missions and even in regular missions, as it's always handy to know your surroundings, but he only just missed out due to his primary fighting options doesn't really offer anything new to the team's arsenal compared to the likes of Pyrrha, Yang and Weiss, and his defensive capabilities are few and far between. So who did make the final spot? Well, once again, it's another face that I've mentioned before in the video, with him finally making the cut at the third time of asking. Yep, my fourth and final pick for my dream team as the wild card is Jean Arc. Even though he has a somewhat limited arsenal, much like Fox, Jean's impactful slashes with his base sword and upgraded broadsword mode can definitely make up for the lack of attack variety, and his physical strength carries into his defensive input too, as even with the minimum blocking that he can do with his shield, he was still tough enough to hold back a charging Ursa and a Nuka-Larvae, and has worked in his shield with his teammates to aid others, like when he elevated Pyrrha into the air to stop Nora getting sniped at during the tournament. And should push come to shove, his vast amount of aura and his amplification semblance can protect him and someone else by boosting both their aura shields in time to lessen a deadly blow. That carries nicely into how his aura levels and semblance can work in tandem with the rest of my dream team. They could improve on their already formidable partnership by giving Pyrrha more strength to lift heavier metal objects with a semblance, or possibly even break harder to damage metals if their foe has any on them. And even beyond the semblance stuff, Jean's remarkable tactical brain means that he can be the shot caller while freeing up Pyrrha to be the attacking force that she excels at the most. Pair Jean up with Yang, and you have the Firecracker now becoming a walking powder keg that can take even tougher blows without trouble and dish it back with even more firepower. Plus, the recovery elements of Jean's power would also recharge the stamina of both Yang and Pyrrha when they need a timeout. Same as well for their final teammate, Weiss. We already saw in Volume 5 that Jean's semblance could help the former heiress summon a bigger Grim like the Queen Lancer, much faster than usual. But imagine if she could summon different Grim all at once with Jean's boost. She could also potentially cast stronger types of the glyphs that she's known for already, like a combination of time dilation and propulsion, to turn Weiss into a supersonic snow angel, moving and striking at a speed even RWBY could fail to beat. Most importantly, Pyrrha, Yang and Weiss are more than capable backup that can protect their male party member while still being able to fight on in the mission. So all in all, I think Jean had enough positives in his favour to make for a sound wildcard option. He's strong as an attacking and defending unit, his tactical strength makes him a fantastic general for the team, and his unique semblance means that he can support each of his teammates and make their strengths shine even brighter. More than enough plus points in my opinion to finally finish this dream team. But there's only one thing left to do, and that is give them a team name. Let's see, we got P and N from Pyrrha, Y, X or L from Yang, W, S from Weiss, and finally J or A from Jean. I got it! Ladies and gentlemen, introducing my ultimate RWBY team, consisting of Pyrrha Nikos, Jean Arc, Weiss Schnee, and Yang Xiaolong. I give you Team PASY, also known as Team Parsley. Hey Sumi, it's the best that I can think of. And there you have it, my dream team is complete. But of course, this is just my idea of the ultimate RWBY team, and I'm curious to hear what you all think. Do you have a dream team? Who would make the cut on your squad? And do you have a better name for mine? Be sure to leave your teams in the comments down below, and while you're at it, hit the subscribe and bell buttons and tick the notification box to make sure you get every video from me as they drop. And follow me on Twitter at ThatKaitoDan for more on anything to do with RWBY, updates on future content for the channel, and more. But until next time, have a good day or good night, and peace out.